Hi folks, welcome back to the Amazing Education channel, where you get the information that will benefit you in your future to have a safer, cleaner, more healthy and happy future on the planet, and gives you ideas that it's more about listening. It's not really the video because all I have is just my phone. Yeah, there's not really exciting video, and it's more about the ideas. So just listen, and you can also like, thumbs up, and subscribe, and watch the other videos that are really going to help you out to have a better future. Although I'm not a financial advisor, but it's education purposes only, and do give you information, financial education, and not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Okay, but this video is about the rising gas prices and how it might affect you, especially if you drive for work. Maybe that's your job, driving around. Well, if you mention to people that gas prices have gone insane, they're very likely to give you a tip. And also, it would be good if you could switch to not driving around so much. And we need to vastly reduce our population down to about 1 billion people instead of, we're headed toward 8, 9, 10 billion people, and it's not a bad idea to reduce this. And people are working hard. They realize that this many people is fine if it was all agricultural in the world, but it's not. It's very industrialized with a lot of pollution. And so in fact, you could argue without all of the industry and machinery, maybe we couldn't even support the number of people that we have. And so as we move away from polluting so much and get toward renewable energy, biking, electric scooters, and if we absolutely have to, yes, electric vehicles like cars and trucks. But as we move in that direction, we'll have less pollution, but we're still going to be causing heat pollution because we heat our houses, we heat our vehicles, and the planet really would be much better off, and prices would be lower. Food prices, housing prices, land, like single family housing with a yard, is going to be much, much cheaper, and we wouldn't have to work so hard. If we went electric, went renewable like that, we would be much better off with lower population. As the scientists recommend, about 1 billion people on the planet. That's 1 billion with a B, which is about 80-90% reduction from what we have right now. And as I said, things will be less expensive, and you won't have to work so hard, and you'll have more space, cheaper rent, or cheaper cost of housing and food and so on. Why is housing so expensive? Why are you working so hard? Why are people so stressed out? Because we have the constant pressure of overpopulation and competition for resources and land. What is war all about? What is economic strife and recession and cycles all about? It's about competition and mistakes made along the way in competing. Think about the 2008-2009 financial crisis. Sort of started off in housing and banking. Well, they were trying to make money and hoping it would all work out by offering mortgages that were almost unsecured, like really improperly issued mortgages, which caused terrible malinvestment, like poor investment decisions, and great loss of money when people could not pay. And we're in a situation very similar to that right now, but we're heading into a situation where there are not many people available to employ, and prices are going up. So we have inflation caused by excess money printing, and sort of business cycles where business is so excited because it's been doing well that they make huge investments for the future, borrow a lot of money, hire new people, and then they can't find enough workers, and they have to pay more and more to get the workers that they need. People are buying many products and things look really great, but when prices go up, suddenly the companies run into financial difficulty because of the borrowing and inability to basically get the labor they need at the prices they need. So their profits in certain companies fall, even if sales may be up. But if you don't have low enough resources or cheap enough labor, you might not make a profit, and then you can have a financial crisis in the company that means it's unprofitable. So if the money that they could borrow is sort of maxed out and they maybe can't borrow more money to stay in business, or they might even continue to borrow more money and then the payments finally come due and then they can't make the payments, and then suddenly the business could fail. And when that happens to a really big business, people get scared. You can have a stock market crash and start of a recessionary cycle, and where one business fails and then another business fails, and it gets messy. So and it can all start, as I said, with high gas prices. So people are moving away from trying to use gasoline if they can, and that's going to be an exciting thing. It's a new sector of the economy, is the electric mobility, the electric scooters, electric bicycles, which actually have outsold electric cars in the United States in 2021. And you can look at yourself. It might have been 2020, but so because of the increasing gas prices very recently, expect that to really accelerate and have even more sales and increased growth rate in electric vehicles, as people think, well, in the future gasoline prices will only continue to increase. You know, they tried making fuel or gasoline out of many things. Cooking oil, like, well, corn oil, and making ethanol and other fuels, sort of biodiesel. But it raises the food prices when you start using food crops for fuel, and it seems like it's much better to have some natural land left on the planet for nature to allow the continued evolutionary process. It would be just wonderful if we could do that. And so what we need to do is reduce the population by about 80% by having smaller family sizes over time, peacefully reduce the number of people on the planet, then there will be more land for natural areas and for solar panel and for wind power to not be right next to somebody's home. Although solar panels on the roof are just fine, but we can also have large so-called solar farms where the solar panels can protect certain plants that don't like sun that much. So you can have farming and solar in the same locations, and could be a really good move for the planet. So actually, the high gas prices, even though they are definitely causing trouble for those drivers, any driver that relies on gasoline is going to suffer now. Really, prices go up and down all the time, but when there's a major shock like the conflict in Russia and Ukraine, then suddenly gas prices can go way up, especially if we stop buying the oil from a certain country, and then suddenly, well, it puts competitive pressure on the remaining sources of oil used for gasoline and diesel, and it could raise the price. Say if we cut out 10% of the supply, well, that could raise the prices even more than 10%, because people are competing for what remains. And over time, we don't have an unlimited supply of oil anyway, and so prices could continue to go up, and up. Combine that with the inflation trouble because of the terrible government decisions and overprinting of the money supply, along with the Federal Reserve, and you have plenty of trouble. And it just helps to remind us that we really should live within walking distance of where we need to go each day, so we don't need to drive around. We need to reorganize our society, and then some kind of negative surprise like rising gasoline prices just won't matter. When we reorganize our situation so that we can have workplaces that are within walking distance, then we don't need to drive at all. Bring an umbrella if you need to, and just wear the right clothing, and maybe drive an electric car that might be electric right there. Oh, I think it is. Yep, it's a BMW electric roadster called an i8. And but they still use massive resources, incredible amount of fossil fuels used to mine the supplies, the input resources for electric vehicles. And believe me, it's not done with renewable resources in most cases. No, the aluminum, the steel, and all that, that's not done with solar power and electric trucks and so on, and making steel with electric renewable energy. No, in most cases it's not. I'm not saying that electric cars are worse than regular cars, but they in some cases could be almost as bad. And but over time they do use less fuel in terms of electricity, and so it is more efficient. But then you've got a situation where certain batteries wear out and you need to replace the battery, or an engine could last much longer. And so you just have to consider that, and you need to consider that they use up tires much more, and so the tires may cost even more than the electricity for certain electric vehicles, and you have to take that into consideration. So long story short, let's reorganize so we don't use all this fuel. Instead of cars here, we should see bicycles. And there are some countries that have properly organized so that they're much more efficient and they do use bicycles, and people are healthier, much healthier than the United States, where the obesity rate and the rate of pre-diabetes and diabetes is crazy high. And a part of it is from this California Pizza Kitchen and the Olive Garden food. You know, the mostly not whole grain and not vegetable. It's sort of starchy, less healthy sort of food with high fat. Yeah, that's part of the problem with the American system. But even more important perhaps is our lack of exercise, because we're driving around and we're using gasoline. So celebrate high gasoline prices, because it might help us reorganize our lives, move closer to work, and stop the zoning that makes workplaces so far away from where we live. Okay, thank you very much, folks. Take care.